teaching you the art of industrial real estate. This is On Air with Team Jensen.
All right. Welcome, listeners. Today we have on with us some folks from Farmer Direct Foods. We have Tim Webster, the CEO, Keaton Hale, the VP of Operations, and Hayley Eckert, VP of Strategy and Sales. Thank you for coming on with us, the three of you.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah.
Thank you. This is exciting.
Excited to jump into your all's history and talk a little bit more about what you're doing at Farmer Direct Foods. I know there's some very exciting things I've heard about and read about, but excited to hear you guys talk about it a little more in depth and share your history and your stories growing up in the business. So I don't know if we have a particular order we want to do things. Tim kind of introduced me to you all, and I appreciate the connection because I'm excited to learn more. But if you guys could we can kind of go around and share a little bit about who you are and how you guys got going.
So I'm Tim, I'm the CEO, and I've been friend with the Jensens for a long time. I've known your dad, since I got to Kansas City. So I was really excited to see what you all were doing around the themes of family, multi-generational family business. And then I saw your episode with J.J. Halmerson and Jacob Gerson, and they're lifetime friends, know their parents really well. Kids grew up with my kids. And I thought this is really neat how you're doing these generational stories of Kansas City businesses. This one has a little different twist. It's not a business that's being handed down, but Keaton and Hayley are fourth generation Kansas wheat farmers and flour millers. And so after a break for a little while, they're both now back in the industry with a modernizing vision for how to update the family legacy. So for me, that's why I was excited to propose that we get together, is for us to put these two in the spotlight and talk about how this family is staying involved in an industry for many generations, but it hasn't been just stepping and handing down. It's a restart. That what we created here at Farmer Direct.
Awesome. And Keaton, do you want to share a little bit about your background and where you grew up and what you're doing with Farmer Direct Foods?
Yeah. Keaton Hale. So I'm born and raised in Salina, Kansas. I'm a Kansas State grad. I graduated in milling science, and then from there bounced around a little bit in Wichita, Kansas, and then out in Oregon for a while. And I've been with Farmer Direct for the last couple of years. When Tim and Hayley started steamheading this vision of Farmer Direct Foods, I think I was pretty quick to get a call to see
keep it all in the family.
See how I can play a role in it. So.
Yeah. Well,
there's more to that story, but we'll let Hayley introduce herself, and we'll get to
a lot more to that.
The funny part of that story.
Yeah. So Hayley Eckert, as Tim mentioned, fourth generation family farmer and miller, and with my two little ones, we're moving on to the fifth generation. So it's really, really exciting. Started my career in management consulting. And that took me abroad for a couple of years to Sydney. And it was really there that I saw the way they were going back to the way things used to be done in terms of full farm to flour, or farm to table traceability, the connection to the farmers, to the food. And I'm like, why are we not doing this? And so Keaton really followed after our grandfather in terms of the milling side. I come back stateside, and I just can't stop thinking about it. And so when the pandemic hit, I thought, there's this void in the market. Flour wasn't available. We had it on our farms. Keaton was in this. And so it just kind of started the flywheel effect, and then partnering with Tim and saying, we've got to do this. We got to do something in the sustainability space. We've got to bring this transparency, traceability back to our food. People want to know where it comes from. And so who better to do it than the three of us?
Well, and how
and
did
our team.
How did the two of you get connected, you and Tim?
Yeah, so grew up with Tim's kids, not Tim. And
I would have guessed.
I'm a little older than I look, or something like that.
So grew up with his kids, and so we kind of always ran in the same circles. And when Tim was actually looking at Tim might be better equipped to tell the story, but he was looking at a different acquisition, again, in the sustainability and flour space. And so he connected to my parents, who had started transitioning a lot of our family farm land to grow regeneratively. And so there was this push to regenerative, and also this push to heirloom grains, ancient grains. And so Tim called my parents up and they said, this is great, but you've got to connect with Hayley. She just left consulting to go out and do this on her own. And so two of us teamed up and
a lot
quickly,
of serendipity in this story. But when you start sniffing around about investing in agriculture, particularly Kansas wheat farming and flour milling, Hayley's parents, her mom is a direct descendant of the Hale family, ADM milling. They sold their family business to ADM and became substantial operators and owners of that company. Her father's a third or fourth generation, different tree of wheat farmers. And so people said, you got to talk to those two.
Yeah.
You want them to be investors in your deal, which they are. And we sat down and started to talk about the company that we were chasing, which we still are in pursuit of. Didn't get that one bought, but they took us out and introduced us to the folks at Farmer Direct Foods. And all these things just started to click, 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 click. And it all started to gain momentum. And we attracted a really kind of a who's who of Kansas City investors in our group, the Lockton family, John Mitchell, Jeff Haynes, Peter Powell, Yellow Freight. So these are all folks I grew up with in YPO, and we had previously invested in a sustainable business in another industry.
Right.
And so we were looking for the next way to participate in that, believe that sustainability is a really long-term, powerful consumer trend that we wanted to tap into.
Right.
So it was kind of going back to our roots, so to speak, in many ways to say, hey, let's explore this. And Farmer Direct's a 30-year-old company, farmer-owned up until the time we bought it 2 years ago.
Okay.
They had made some progress, but they clearly were frustrated that getting into consumer products broadly, learning how to compete effectively with the big grocers and the big mass merchants and the distributors was just a different animal. And so we built our team to take all the good stuff that the Farmer Direct, the co-op, had built over 30 years, and hopefully then build a national marketing and sales footprint and brand on top of that.
Yeah. Well, and part of building that team was you convincing Keaton to come work with you guys. Can you share a little bit about that story? It sounds like there's something there that's kind of fun to share.
So Keaton grew up in patent flour milling, so the traditional all-purpose big mills. And I call him up and I said, got an opportunity, and it's this stone ground. And he goes, that stuff's ancient. I'm like, that's exactly it. That's exactly it.
We're going
a lost art. We're going back to the way things used to be done, and there's some beauty in that. And so I would say the first call, Keaton, correct me if I'm wrong, but it was more of a laugh, and but eventually we, the three of us, we sat down, we had a vision for what this could be, and the opportunity. We talk a lot about legacy here, and legacy is so much about looking back, and whether it's Keaton and I's family history or the way things used to be done, but it's also about looking forward for us. And it's about, legacy is what's the mark we're going to leave on these farmers, on the earth, on the consumers. And so, we had this vision for, we're going to do better for these farmers. We're going to do better for the earth. We're going to incentivize these farmers, pay them a premium to grow regeneratively. And then ultimately we're going to do better for the consumers, have a better product out there. And so, that's a vision Keaton couldn't say no to, and he was fully on board.
The rest of the story is that we hired him to be the number 2 in the chain of command at the mill.
Okay.
And the former president, who was a part of the transaction where we acquired the company, in one board meeting with our team of investors and our level of operating discipline and standards and financial acumen, it became very clear to him that he wasn't going to be the long-term answer. So on his drive from Oregon back to Kansas, he finds out he's not number 2. He's in charge from day one.
Let me clarify this.
That's exciting.
Keaton,
it wasn't stressful.
And I was too scared to call him, so I made Hayley call him.
Tim doesn't shy away from a tough conversation, but he made me make that call. And Keaton goes, I am sitting in my aunt and uncle's. I am sitting at my parents' driveway. I just pulled up, and you were telling me, I'm like, Monday morning, buddy, you are running the mill. Congratulations, you've just been promoted.
Put the big boy pants on. Let's go.
I think my first words were "Bring it on."
They were. So it
And
just speaks to Keaton's.
It's about this
go-getter.
family. When the blank hits the fan, their reaction is to lace up their boots and put their work gloves on.
Yeah.
So they don't shy away from challenge,
Yeah.
complication, adversity.
Well, and can you share a little bit about what the difference is between the ancient milling that you guys are doing now, the stone ground, versus how it has been more popularly done in recent years?
Yeah, the conventional flour milling, which is a majority of the flour consumed in the U.S., is a patent flour where you're removing the bran and just crushing up the endosperm. So that's the inside of the wheat kernel. What that does is typically adds a better baking performance. You take away a lot of the tannins and the bitterness that comes with the bran, the outer layer of the wheat kernel. So ultimately, most people say that it tastes better with a patent milling product. And you can add a lot of water to it. You add ingredients to the patent flour. For the most part, you add ingredients, which is because you're removing the bran. That's where the substantial part of the nutrients of the wheat kernel is housed.
Okay.
A lot of vitamins, a lot of minerals, a lot of fiber, protein. There's a lot of good stuff in the bran, and in patent milling, you end up turning it into cow chow.
Okay.
Send it to feed instead of feeding humans with it. You're feeding animals. So with the stone ground whole wheat flour, 100% of what you put into the mill is going to end up in a bag or end up in the flour product. So the only byproduct of whole wheat flour milling in that is what you're cleaning on your grain cleaning side. So if there's chaff or sticks or stones or
Right.
dirt coming out of the field, that'll go, and then we turn that into cow chow or sell it to, or give it to farmers or ranchers, local ranchers. Actually, the Peterson Farm Bros, if anybody knows,
Yes.
their parody videos, they have gone viral quite a few times for quite a few farming parody videos that they make with different songs.
They're hilarious.
Yeah, I need to check it out.
Very
Yeah.
good content. But we send, or they come and pick up all of our wheat mids or screenings
Okay.
and mix it into their cattle rations. But stone milling is a lot different flow, in the trace of the grain throughout the mill. With a patent flour mill, you have anywhere from probably 4 to 7 or 8 stories of equipment, and it goes up and down. It's a gradual reduction process where you're slowly grinding the wheat up. You're doing the best you can to scrape out every piece of endosperm and turn that into flour, and then keep the bran in as big a flake as you can to maximize your yield.
Okay.
But with the flour milling on the whole wheat side, our main goal is to turn it into flour as fast as possible. It's a quick and dirty process where you're going in the stone. It's all dry milling, so we don't add water. We don't add a single ingredient. What you get out of the field and take off of your grain cleaner, and then you're left with clean grain, and that immediately gets crushed up and put in a bag.
Wow.
A couple days later, if at the longest point. A lot of times it's milled and bagged in the same day and leaves in a week or two of the
Very
facility.
Now, is the dryer process, I've always heard flour can be like explosive. Is the dryer process a little bit more dangerous? Are there more protocols you have to have in place because of that, or?
No, the reason that you temper or that you add water to a patent mill is to toughen your bran and soften your endosperm to do a little bit better job of
Okay.
separating those two. With the whole wheat milling that we do on the stone mills, we want that bran really brittle.
Okay.
We make a very fine whole wheat product to help with the baking characteristics. So with baking with whole wheat, you typically have to add a little bit more water in there because the bran soaks up a little bit more water. It'll make a little denser loaf of bread. So sometimes the baker will add like vital wheat gluten to help with your loaf volume and toughen your your dough.
Okay.
Can I sneak in with a word from the marketing department?
Yeah.
Keaton gets a gold star for wearing our new Farmer Direct trucker hat and the Farmer Direct logo shirts. But if you would like and follow us at Farmer Direct Foods on all the social platforms.
Yeah.
We're a new emerging brand, so that awareness. But one of the fun parts is, Keaton mentioned, on Instagram, look at Peterson Farm Bros. And these folks have hundreds of thousands of followers, and they make farming fun and lively. And he mentioned, like, one of their videos, they took Tom Petty's Free Falling and turned it into wheat hauling.
Okay.
And it's them harvesting, putting it in the truck, bringing it to the mill. Keaton's featured there, unloading the grain, driving around on a forklift. Okay. So for us, we're in the middle of doing some content development with them.
Cool.
Because today the consumer really doesn't know or understand what regenerative means. Organic, most people know what that means. No pesticides. Non-GMO, they know what that means. Regenerative is like an evolving field, and we're really going to work to be out in front on educating consumers. And so the Peterson brothers make it fun to tell what can be sort of a technical-oriented story about us conserving water. We don't take water out of the aquifer. We do dry farming. We don't till the soil, so we're not releasing carbon in the atmosphere. So there's a lot of really good stuff, and why we say we're sustainable is the fact that we're doing it regeneratively, and we're going to do some stuff with them to tell that story in a way that's fun and lively, and maybe even put to music, and maybe featuring our little green truck buzzing around telling that story. So
very
and
cool.
Then kind of going full circle from what Keaton just explained on the milling side, and then Tim on the sustainability, kind of the headline from back to Keaton is it's better for you. It's a better, you're not removing any of the nutrients in the milling process, and it's done at a lower temperature, so you're not killing off proteins in that process as well. So ultimately what you're getting on shelf with us is a better quality, more nutritious, more dense, nutritionally dense product.
Well, and I have heard, I'm sure you guys are well aware of gluten intolerance people and people with gluten intolerance. And I've heard when you're over in Europe, sometimes you don't even run into it, and you can eat pasta in Italy and do those kind of things.
That's a great tip. Take it away, Hayley. Take it away,
our
Hayley.
heirloom.
Is it something for you guys that you're able to, is that something that your customers, ultimately the end user, is able to avoid certain things like that?
So specifically with our heirloom product. So we, at the retail level, we have a heirloom wheat that is, it's a turkey red wheat, which it is the 150th anniversary of turkey red wheat, which really made Kansas the breadbasket and, the Midwest, the breadbasket of the U.S. Yeah. So with heirloom wheat, it hasn't been hybridized, so it's in its original natural state. And so people with gluten sensitivity are often able to digest it, and we don't ever say that for celiacs, but gluten sensitivity, yes. And so we're it's a loved product for those with that intolerance.
My
and it's
sister-in-law sat and wept after a weekend of pancakes, pasta, pizza, biscuits, because she thought she was going to be gluten-free the rest of her life. And this heirloom product is amazing.
Mm-hmm. And it's something for Kansans to celebrate. This 150th anniversary, we should be talking about it.
No, it's very cool. And so are all the farms in the state of Kansas, all the wheat farms? Yeah.
Yes. Besides our Prairie Select product, which is a spring wheat base that comes out of the North Dakota, I believe.
Okay.
And that's on the wholesale side. So we have two sides of the business. We've got the retail side, so we sell 5-pound bags at grocery.
Okay.
And then we also have a bulk side of the business. So we're selling primarily to artisan bakeries, farm to market here in Kansas City. They're exclusively using our flour, which is really, really exciting. We love that partnership. And so that side, those are in 50-pound bags and often sold through distributors. Like we have a local distributor here, Scavuzzo's, also a family business as well.
Yep.
Yeah. So those are two avenues to market. Is through those.
Very cool. And so are there, and it's okay if you don't want to share, but are there particular bakeries in town that you can share that are using your guys' product that you'd like to share? Or?
Sure.
Yeah. So obviously Farm to Market, I just mentioned, is a big one of ours. John was an advocate for us all along. And, farm to market, he was like, I'm missing the farmer.
Right.
I need that connection back to my, so that was great. We're in early partnership with McLean's,
Very cool.
Kansas City as well. And
We're
we're working
regular
on
there.
some of those chains like Ebis. We,
Yeah.
those that really value the artisan quality.
Right.
Wheatfields over in
Wheatfields.
Lawrence.
Yep. And then Strawberry Provisions.
Okay.
Strawberry Hill.
Strawberry Hill.
Okay. You guys should knock on Heirloom Bakery over in Brookside.
We should.
They've got some
Yeah.
pretty good product too.
They do. They do a great job, and we're kind of meant for each other. So
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, I mean the name. I mean
Right.
it would make a lot of sense. And it sounds like it's a busy day out there. There's a lot of sirens going off. But well, we might as well. I think we should join Tim.
I already cracked the beer.
I'm gonna grab. So we have Martin City as a sponsor. You guys grab whichever beer you'd like. There's a hazy IPA, which is a pretty good hoppy IPA. The Yes Way Jose, which is a Mexican lager. The Bohemian, which is just a classic pilsner, and then the Curveball, which is a hoppy wheat ale. Which I think in
the spirit
of having you all on, I'm going to drink hoppy wheat ale. But this is wheat ale. But this is the Crack It Open segment from Martin City Brewery. And so we like
Thank you, Martin City.
we like to
Yes,
crack
cheers.
we like to crack it open
Cheers.
and ask a pointed question. And so I was curious, just touching on family, kind of putting the two, because you're cousins, correct? First cousins. So just putting you on the spot, but what is, and you can each go, but is there, what's like the biggest surprise you would say working together that you maybe didn't expect? Yeah, 'cause I'm sure you knew each other very well growing up close together and having the family business shared, and just kind of curious what you maybe were caught by surprise with each other and how you work, or just different personality things that you maybe didn't realize when you weren't working in a professional career together. So we can go ladies first if you're ready.
I'll take it on.
All right.
So Keaton's always been my little cousin. He's he's the little boy in the family.
What's the
and
age gap?
Oh gosh, well you can do the math here better than I thought I was.
See, I'm 28.
Yeah, and I'm 35. So there you go, 7 years.
Okay.
He is so mature. He is like unbelievably mature. He's very poised every time he's in front of a customer. He's methodical. He is honest. And it's just like, it's so neat to see, in my eyes, a little boy grow up and be so good at his job. And it's just like, I'm so like, it's really, I'm in awe of him.
Yeah.
And I just think it's really, really neat that I got to do this by his side. And I think that was, it was powerful for me.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you. Thank you for the kind words. It's very nice to hear. I think my biggest takeaway, and really it's just sitting here right now when you started to ask that question, I could see where it was going. So my biggest takeaway is quite the opposite of what you said. I think I learned how much we didn't know each other. Just even though we're family and we had all the traditional family gatherings at holidays, and we spent a fair amount of time together, that we didn't really know each other. Maybe as like friends, or especially as coworkers. Your coworkers are some of typically the most intimate parts of your lives. They are people that you develop deep connections with. More so than some of your friends or family sometimes. And so it's really pretty cool that we are, have that relationship side as a family and a relationship side as coworkers, because it's a really pretty deep, intimate connection that you can develop with someone on so many different levels.
Yeah.
Well said.
Well, no, I think that's special. And you do, to your point, you spend so much time. I mean, you spend more time with a lot of coworkers than you do your family for certain phases of your life. And so I think it's pretty cool that you guys get to share that. And
Especially when we're in startup mode.
oh, yeah.
Well, and Hayley's parents are investors, so I work for them.
Yeah.
These two work for me. Her husband's an investor, so nepotism is out the window. That's kind of the case in family type businesses. And I think the Helmerson Gerson group that was on here recently, and you watching you operate with your dad, families bring some complication to things because you got to be able to have the direct conversation.
Right.
And you can't have the perception of favoritism.
Right.
You know, those are at least a couple of the ones that immediately come to my mind that I have to keep an eye on. Like, are these two treating each other differently than they're treating their peers and their colleagues in the company? Nope.
Yep.
If anything, they give each other the business a little bit more.
Right. They're harder on each other.
Right.
In a good way.
I'm like, all right, carry on. That's fine. And you know, you got to be really spirited in your intentionality around communication.
Yeah.
And not shy away from, you know, don't hide the bad news, you know, don't shy away from it. You got to have the direct conversations. And I think families that are able to navigate multi-generational legacies have a system.
Right.
You know, it helps you got a great business, but you got to have a system, whether they have to go out and work somewhere else and come back with some experience, so they cut their teeth somewhere else and learn some of the tough lessons.
Right.
Or you got to have the environment where those lessons are taken head on.
Right.
And they can't be treated differently. So I
absolutely.
think those are some of the core fundamentals that this family makes it really easy for me, because their values are so admirable, but also uniform and universal, really, in everything they do, every conversation I have with them. They just are embedded in integrity, hard work, discipline, and humility.
Yeah.
And that makes it really great to be partners and work with them.
Yeah. Well, and there's something special about it,
Thank
too.
you, Tim.
Well, and I always say to Keaton, you're so hard on yourself, you never give me a chance to beat you up. You're so busy beating yourself up. I'm always giving him the pep talk.
Yeah.
Easy, Tiger. We'll get there.
There's time for both. There's time for both.
Right.
But no, and that's, you know, and I feel like that's what's so cool and special about when it does work. I do think it makes you sharpen the axe even more so. And it also, that family dynamic can bleed into the rest of the company, I've found. And it really, you can lead to the point where everyone feels like they're a part of the family, you know, and that's when I think it can just multiply what you're doing and create a great environment for a growing company. And so I think it's awesome to hear the connection you guys have and how it's worked for you. And just curiosity, how many cousins are there, and where are you?
What's the next hire? We gotta wait for one of these babies to grow up.
Yeah, and I'm curious about your little ones, but how do you fall in the line of cousins age-wise? Are you, and out of how many total cousins?
13. They're 13 cousins. 14. 14 cousins. I am the second oldest. My older sister's the oldest. Except for we have a married in that beats me too.
A step cousin.
And so I'm on the older side.
I can't quite figure out where I sit. Maybe like number 5 from the bottom or something like that.
Okay, so there's a few younger.
Yeah.
So
okay.
Keaton's dad and my mom are siblings of 6. Yeah.
Okay.
And Keaton just got married, shattering the hearts of many across the state of Kansas.
Congratulations.
But it was fun having these cousins together. We had a impromptu pop-up birthday party because they did a traditional Kansas wedding and then a break and then the reception, and we didn't want to have a break in the festivities. So we went to this hole in the wall and had a pop-up birthday party with her baby
Leah,
sleeping in the corner. So they're fun. Their family is fun to hang out with for sure.
Congratulations. When was the wedding?
Thank you. It was, I should remember this, June 8th.
Didn't mean to put you on the
No,
spot.
that one needs to go in the hard drive.
Shout out to my beautiful wife, Hannah.
There you go.
How are you?
Now, where'd you
Feels
two
like
meet?
yesterday.
We met in Wichita. Cool. So I spent 3 years milling in Wichita after graduating from K-State.
Okay.
Then I spent about a year out in Oregon, and then the 2 years in Salina. So Hannah and I dated for about 2 years in Wichita, 1 year long distance in Oregon, and then 2 years middle distance, Salina to Wichita.
So she's got to appreciate us because we brought him back to Kansas.
Yeah, she. And when I was debating between taking the gig with Farmer Direct and staying with the company where I was at, which I think they deserve some credit because they made the decision extremely difficult. I was very happy with my line of work and the company I worked for and the career progression I was on and the people I was working for there. And so it was a very, very hard decision. But when I asked Hannah, what's Oregon or Salina sound like to you? And she jumped all over Salina.
Yeah.
So she had done one interview. She's a pediatric nurse, and she had done one interview in Oregon while we were dating, just to see what it was like to start that process all over again. And it was tough. She's very rooted in Wichita, and so this solution of me moving back to Salina worked out very good for my personal life. But Hayley, I can jump back to that topic. Hayley kind of said it took a lot of convincing of the mission of Farmer Direct, and that's really what sold me. Ultimately, I was going from a $50+ million flour mill to something substantially less in operating capacity and
Right.
and resources on the technical aspects of milling, and some of that's intriguing because then I have to learn it myself. I have to
Right.
solve a lot of the problems myself. I don't have as many resources, which is fun on paper, but then when you're covered in flour, sweating like the doughboy, with no
Think
one
about
else,
it a little bit.
no one else to help you, like
Yeah.
on last Monday when it was 106 out, or this past Monday,
Yeah.
it makes you think twice about not having as many resources. But nevertheless, still, I don't regret the decision at all. It's been a very, very good journey to be a part of Farmer Direct, and the buy-in on the mission and the vision of the company is ultimately what sold me on taking the job.
Very cool. And so you're married and you have two little ones. How old are your?
I am.
kids?
Yes. Charlie is 2.5, and then Evelyn, it's her 9-month birthday today. So yes,
That's very
I had.
exciting.
Yes.
Happy birthday, Lenny.
Happy birthday, Lenny. So we spend part of our year in Dallas. My husband started up an investment firm with a couple other partners there.
Okay.
And so he's on that mission, and I'm on this one, and we do back and forth, spend our summers here, and I'm slowly trying to reel him back here. He loves Kansas City, so it's not a hard sell, but he's got a great gig going.
Is he from? You said Dallas, right?
He's from Cincinnati originally.
Okay. So
Yeah.
So he's still a Midwesterner.
He's still a
Yeah.
Midwesterner,
Yeah.
yes, and he loves the roots and
Yeah.
all kind of what Kansas stands for, and
Yeah.
so
And we're the
He
two-
knows we're coming for him.
yeah.
Yeah. One of these days.
We
yeah.
tried a lot of different angles, and it's gonna happen.
Yeah. And where did the two of you meet?
We met in Dallas. Yeah.
Okay.
So when I got back from Australia, we met a couple months later, and yeah, we're married a year and a half later. A kid a year and a half after that, and the rest is history.
Yeah.
So
It's very exciting.
Yeah.
Very exciting. Well, and so I'm sure you guys have a lot of family fun, and it sounds like you guys have a number of cousins. But do you guys have like a big get together out at the farm? And I'm sure you guys have a family farm, I'd imagine. I don't know if you're growing wheat there, but I mean.
So there's a couple, yes,
Yeah.
yes, and yes. And, with the passing of our grandparents, some assets have been divided and such. But one thing that was one of, I would say, both of our favorite childhood memories is we always did Easter out at the ranch. And so Keaton's dad is notorious for having a lot of toys, being ATVs and dirt bikes and all the things. And so that was always a big, fun family gathering. And so we, obviously did the holidays together and such too. But yes, I would say rooted in Manhattan and the farmland there. That brought us all together.
Yeah, that's very cool. And so, and the two of you, you're not necessarily in the Kansas City area, but you're just off the path, right? I mean, how much time do you guys like spending quite a bit of time in Kansas City? You guys come to town for various things, I'd assume, and
yeah. So we're here 3 months of the year.
Okay.
Summertime, it's kind of our family's commitment to being in Kansas and Farmer Direct.
Right.
And yeah, but then, all the time throughout the year.
yeah.
Keaton's just a couple hours west.
Yeah, just a couple hours away. I find myself here on quite a few weekends for
Yeah.
weddings and bachelor parties, and I have a lot of friends in Kansas City. Our board meetings are held in Kansas City, and
Okay.
participating in a lot of activities in the area.
Yeah. Well,
And visiting customers.
Yeah,
right?
one thing that's really
Visits,
one thing that's really unique about Farmer Direct is we bring our team there for whether it be a conversion or a customer meeting. We have our head of quality, Abby. She's phenomenal, and so she's traveling all over to meet with customers and helping because a baked flour conversion it can be a tough gig. It's a science.
Changing the main ingredient.
Yeah, you
Right.
are, and
Yeah.
there's chemistry behind it. There's science. So she has she's our head of quality. She's on Keaton's team, and then also has a background in bakery science. And so we pull her around. We pull Keaton. They're better at.
Tell them a little bit about the next 24 hours.
Yeah, it's for a bakery, it's especially intimidating. For you've perfected your product, and you rely on consistency, which I can dive a little bit onto why Farmer Direct can deliver very high consistency at such a small company is because our grain sourcing is so selective. We can have a couple different farmers provide the wheat that we need to supply all of our customers. Whereas if our size of our company and our sourcing capabilities are extremely unique. You get into a larger company and you source wheat from all over the U.S. or maybe the entire state of Texas or something like that, or Texas, Kansas, Oklahoma. You can bridge that whole gap right there, and then you're supplying your customer with someday you might be a blend of this one region, and the very next day you might be a blend of the next region, where we're so local, but still can tap into some massive resources. Kansas being one of the top wheat producers in the U.S., a couple of our farmers could, if they all have their yields right, could supply our entire demand for a whole year just off their one harvest. So, but that got a little bit off track.
But you were on the theme of consistency, so that's very important.
The baker, when they've got their product and they're really intimidated to switch off one brand to another. Abby, our quality manager and technical assistants can go in there and provide some support to review their process if you have a hydration issue with your dough, or the way that it goes through a sheeter to roll out, and just any aspect. She can provide hands-on technical troubleshooting, or maybe it's just going to bake with the baker for a day, and then establish that connection and relationship with them, and hand them her cell phone number, and so they can call her up. But tonight I'll go catch a couple-hour nap after this, and drive out to Arkansas to help a bakery and meet up with Abby on converting a bakery to our flour, and they have a little stone mill in the back where they grind their own whole wheat.
Very
So
cool.
I'll go and work on their stone mill and do some millwright services for them, while Abby will be in the bakery with their team converting to Farmer Direct flour. So that'll be a shift from 3 a.m. to 11 a.m. tonight.
Yeah.
So I'll drive 4+ hours to Arkansas, and then work till 11 a.m. and we'll see what happens after that. Maybe
This
catch
is not the typical flour company service model. So to go on building on a little bit on that, the basic model, historically, you can picture a farm and they have their harvest. They're going to take it to the elevator and get cash today.
Okay.
And then that elevator is going to begin to blend to the point, and I don't want to say anything too negative, blending to the lowest common saleable product.
Right.
Right? And so it's commingled. And so even within the same flour
to hit
mill,
protein levels, to hit their
their minimum spec, right,
Yeah.
which they're providing. But the roots of it, the cereal chemistry, the nature of the grain that's in there could be different every single time they deliver. So the baker may be experiencing more variability than they think,
Right.
just within having one existing supplier. So the reason we're called Farmer Direct is and you got a brother in the wine business. It
Right, I was
reminds
gonna
me
say, yeah, it's
of
very
Nickel and
similar.
Nickel, where they do one variety, one varietal, one vineyard.
Right.
And so that's exactly how we operate. So we're making white whole wheat flour this week. It's coming from John Griffith's farm, and we can tell you exactly the seed that was used, the growing conditions, and that product is going to be very, very consistent.
Yeah. No, that's very
over
cool.
time. So
You
that's
guys-
really the identity of Farmer Direct
Right.
versus the traditional
Right.
commingled industrial
Right.
model.
And then you take that what Tim just said, coupled with what Keaton just said, and you've got superior product, you've got superior customer service. I mean, we have customers saying, I've never experienced this level of care, and it's because we're really passionate about it. I mean, everyone on the team. So,
and these are big companies where we picked a fight with some giants. So you got to be good at what you do, and you got to go the extra mile.
No, absolutely.
To earn that business, and that's what we intend to do.
And even with it being a superior product, I'm sure, to your point with the bakeries, I mean, I'm sure it's a science for them, and so I'm sure there's a little bit of a learning curve of working with a different flour, and so I think that's awesome. That's a part of your business because it makes all the sense in helping folks transition into using your flour. And so
it's a lot easier to say no than yes. Let's bring some complexity into my world.
Absolutely.
Let me help you save the planet. Right.
So. Well, you said do your bags have like the farm that they came from and all of that on the bag?
Did you talk to Neil Sharma in advance? So that's ultimately our dream, is that there would be a stamp like a wine barrel.
That's what I was.
That would say, this is John Griffith 2024 harvest.
Okay.
So right now we have our bags QR coded, and that takes us to kind of some general, like, here are our farmers, here's this. But yeah, we want
that's ultimately where we want to be.
It'll be coded to here.
And pop up like Vital Farms. Hayley and I have been talking about them. The egg company, beautiful company. You can see the chicken coop where your egg was laid.
Yeah.
So ultimately, that's been a part of our vision long term, and there's just some technology aspects of that we haven't undertaken yet. But
people can go see golden waves,
right,
blowing in the Kansas wind.
And when we were negotiating the acquisition, John, I've mentioned him several times, was the chairman of the board of the co-op, and he would negotiate with us on a headset on a Zoom call in his combine cockpit.
Oh, that's pretty awesome.
I was like, this is cool. I should have been recording some of this stuff. And these are just people like that, these farmers, they work all day, every day, and sneak in a little business call in the middle of the labor of love.
That's where a lot of the passion comes from too, because it's just salt of the earth, the hardest working people, and they're feeding us, and so we want to be able to feed them, provide more for them.
No, absolutely.
One of the cool things about regenerative agriculture is the mental health profile of the young next generation growers skyrockets, and suicide basically goes to zero. And in the traditional model where the family farm was being given up because it just wasn't sustainable, it was too tough. It was tough to get credit and grow and maintain the business. So that for us is just another one of these peel back the layer of why we love what we're doing. This is bringing young farmers a mission-driven purpose that will allow us to continue having Kansas being the top wheat producing state in the country, and we're excited to be adding value so that their mission is they're getting paid to do the extra, more challenging things to add more value.
Right.
And that's a noble purpose in our mind.
Yeah.
The original group of farmers that owned Farmer Direct are still extremely involved. They're still the growers that provide us a substantial amount of wheat. They have a direct impact on our view of regenerative agriculture.
Yeah.
Farmer Direct's us. We're a really good bridge to the consumer, to the grocery store buyers, to someone in a larger company that has a sustainability initiative on how to actually achieve that, and then make that connection with the grower to say, here's what the consumer's saying they want. Here's what the person who's actually buying the flour says they'd like to see from the farm.
Right.
Can you do that? Is it achievable? And sometimes they'll say, well, yeah, we're already doing it. Or sometimes they say, you guys are flat out crazy. That's just never going to work.
Right.
We can't do that.
Right.
And then it's our job to go back and say, hey, we're not living in reality right now. We need to readjust our view.
No, that makes perfect sense.
So we invested a couple $1 million at the mill since we bought it and built a big warehouse. And at the ribbon cutting, Big Dean, one of our growers, big old giant teddy bear, sweetheart of a guy, love him to death, raised his hand in front of God and everybody in the press and said, Tim, why isn't Taylor Swift using our flour? That she's baking cinnamon rolls for Travis before every game, and Mama Kelsey's making chocolate chip cookies, selling them at Eagle Stadium and Chiefs Stadium. So he called me out, and the challenge is on. Challenge has been accepted. We are working very, very hard to get our stuff in the right hands to try to make that happen. But so this is the way our growers relate to us. You know, that's all nice. We hear you putting on a big shindig, feeding everybody lunch. Why the heck don't we have Taylor Swift using Farmer Direct Foods?
Yeah.
So if you're out there, Taylor, just like Travis put the blast in the universe, we're ready. We're ready to show you what we can do.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and I do have to ask, it's a little bit of a less serious question, but would you give your mustache credit to the flour that you guys have been producing? Or
No, unfortunately I wouldn't. The mustache made a reappearance in my life back when I first started dating Hannah. We first met, and I had a pretty big mustache. It was bigger than this one. So
dang,
got
okay.
married a little over a month ago, and I said, you know what, I'm gonna bring that back. So we'll see.
What does she think of the mustache? Is she a fan? Clearly, she stayed with you.
Yeah, she told me the other day, she's like, I don't mind it. It only bothers me when you talk about how much you like your mustache.
we can cut this clip before you show it to her.
Yeah, so as long as I don't say anything about my mustache, she's all for it.
Good.
But,
I'm the one that brought it up.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a strong stash.
So if someone else, thank you. If someone else brings up the mustache, I think it's fair game. I can keep on talking about it.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I'm envious. I have a dark stash, but I can't grow it thick like that. So it's a gift.
Good one.
We'll see how long it lasts.
Yeah.
The draw for me last time 5 or so years ago when I shaved it was when you lay down at night and then it would like push in your mouth and it started messing with my sleep, so I had to go.
All right. I had to ask. It came into my mind earlier, and I wanted to.
Good looking stash.
Thank you.
But and I really appreciate you all coming on with us, and loved hearing your story. And I want you to share again how to find out more about Farmer Direct Foods, because I think our listeners would be pretty impressed to see more. And if you could touch on what grocery stores we can find your product in, I think that would be awesome too, because I might need to get some for when I make my chocolate chip cookies.
Let's go.
At home.
You do.
So
farmerdirectfoods.com, and like and follow us on all the social media platforms. LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram. So that would be very much appreciated. Good content there. You can learn about some of our growers and learn more about regenerative agriculture. So we're trying to be in every grocery store in Kansas City. The Balls family from David is a longtime friend of ours, so we started very strong with them.
Good.
They're also involved with farm to market bread, so we're in all their bread is made with our flour.
Okay.
So if you want to take the shortcut, support our good friend John Friend and his team at Farm to Market Bread. Everything there is made 100% with our product.
Okay.
And coming in August, we will be in national distribution in every Sprouts grocery store.
Oh, wow.
So
Very
we were
cool.
there in the spring of 2023 on a trial basis as part of their In-N-Out Forager program, and the results were good. So we'll be going into the baking set here August 26th or so.
That's right.
And we'll be in national distribution. So that's one of those bellwether accounts that give you street credibility, and it's also what I'll call an influencer account, because a lot of other grocers are following what they're doing.
Right.
They're all about attributes. So 70% of the products they sell, they're marketing based on an attribute.
Okay.
Whether that's organic or non-GMO or what have you. Plant-based protein, that kind of thing. And so regenerative is the next wave of their focus, and so we're going to be early in that wave of their move to market more regenerative products to consumers.
Awesome. Well, unless you guys have anything else you'd like to touch on, I just want to say thanks for coming on. Appreciate it, Hayley, Keaton, and Tim. It was a lot of fun having you on, and I think that's a wrap.
All right.
Thank
you very much for having us.
Yeah,
Thank you
absolutely.
again, Martin City.
Oh, yeah.